The NFL draft has come and gone. How does it affect our dynasty rankings and tiers? We're going to tell you that next. It's a stat card coming your way on the IBT podcast.
Cause I've been in tune, out of touch, coming off the bench, trying to shake the funk, check your stat line, see who's up, that over, under, hit too clutch.
And I'm trying to avoid getting carried away with the jet sweep, sleeping on a trick play, predicting all of my moves like they seen every play. So I'm running it back, head down, get out of my way. And it's for the law with only one thing to do. I guess I'll say a prayer and put it all on the line for you. What they don't know, something they haven't seen. I find a gap on the screen and hit them right in between. Yeah, I got it, and I got it. Just one thing to say, yeah, what they don't know, something they haven't seen. I'm off that mean Joe Green, it got me fading between. Yeah, I got it, and I got it. The In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right. It is Tuesday, April 30th, 2024, and the weekend of all weekends has come and gone. Rookie drafts are already popping off. I'm out here wheeling and dealing in mine, guys. I'm going to be straight up. I was at the racetrack on Sunday. My league had to, surely they couldn't wait until I was done at the racetrack. They had to start the draft 11 a.m. on Sunday, 8-hour clock, so it gave me a little leniency. But I'm out there trying to watch Cup Series racing, boys, and all of a sudden I'm just getting deals left and right. I'm trading back 3 times in the first round. Shit was popping off in my dynasty leagues over the weekend. I hope yours are as well, or they will be soon. You can call me Omar Khan. You can call me Seth Woolcock. Either way, I'm here to host the show tonight, and I'm joined by a guy who was boots on the ground in Detroit, leader a big swinging season here at IBT, QB1, Hoov. How we doing, Hoov?
I guess that means that's me. How are we doing tonight, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages? All right. It's your boy, HOOV. Just got back from the Big D. Ooh, I don't know about that, but back from Detroit. But we are having a good time tonight. We're going to talk about the draft. We had a lot of excitement this last week, but we're going to keep the excitement rolling on. Because it's officially off-season time, baby.
Yes.
We can finally start talking about scheme fits and everything, but I'll let you keep going because I'm not here alone. I don't want to take up all the time. Who else we got?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you being here, Hoov. A little rest for you over the weekend. I know you drove straight through the night on Friday. I know you were up early on Wednesday. But yeah, also as you allude to, we are joined by a Christian music star turned fantasy football analyst and entrepreneur, Tyler Big Money Bradley. T. Brad, how we doing? It's good to have you in the house again tonight.
Man, you never fail with the intros. Like, I don't know what to expect every time. It's going to be some off the wall shenanigans of an intro. But needless to say, I'm glad to be here. It's always a good time to jump on with the IBT podcast crew and hang out. So, man, I'm pumped to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, dude. Always a pleasure when we're hanging out with you. My favorite person from Tennessee, maybe also the only person I know from Tennessee, but you're my favorite as well, unless you're throwing chairs off rooftops down there, Tyler.
Yeah, no, none of that here. We got to keep it, I got a job, things I got to do. I can't be risking it all like that,
I feel you. You're risking it coming on this program. But either way, we are loaded on the show. We're going to do some from the forum, answer some questions over there from the Fantasy Football Advice Network. Then we're going to do Rave rookie reviews. I'm going to reveal my top 36 rookie rankings and tiers. We're going to have Tyler and Hoov react to them live, and then we'll round it out with some discussion on outdoor movies, who are our top favorite picks for some outdoor films this summer. Shout out to IBT family. Looks like we got some people hanging out with us already. Looks like we got Eric. Even on his day off, he comes in, checks out the show. We appreciate you saying Tuesday with the big dogs. You know it, buddy. Appreciate you, man. And we got Albert in the chat. Good evening, IBT. Good evening to you, Albert. We appreciate you as always, man. Scott, not here tonight. Wife having some back issues right now. So, hey, just want to send some love out to the Rainier family, man. They've been going through it a little bit this year, but Scott is still tearing it up here. So we greatly appreciate him. We appreciate everyone who supports this program, all the staff members here. But guys, it's fucking time. Let's go ahead. Let's jump in. I think there's no better place to start than answer a couple questions from perhaps our favorite platform out there on the internet right now. I don't know about Hoov, actually. Hoov has some sketchy platforms that it might be his favorite, but other than Hoov's favorite,
fantasy football
favorite.
Only, right? Like the fantasy football only platform.
Yes, 100%. Let's get it started here with From the Forum tonight, guys.
If you're up, stuck, thinking about what to do, here in between, we got advice for you. Back and forth all day, trying to pick the play. Let's hear what them boys here had to say.
Presented by the Fantasy Football Advice Network.
Yes, it is From the Forum, sponsored by the Fantasy Football Advice Network. This is a platform that brings together fantasy football enthusiasts and content creators onto one platform, where whether you want to find it at fantasyfootballadvice.com or their sleek app, get on it. There's discussion forums, groups, DMs, monetization features, including content publishing. Tyler, you are the man behind the curtain. You are Oz. You are the Wizard of Oz. Tell us a little bit more. I know you're kind of in the midst of up to something season over there. I know you guys are continuing to kind of grow and get some different stuff going on.
Dude, man, we got some stuff coming. Like, we're in the middle of a complete upgrade to what is already Fantasy Football Advice Network that is just going to knock down walls. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a game changer. And just, one of the things that we love in the fantasy football world is we love the community, right? Like, you love creating pockets of community in different leagues. And so, like, it gets at that while producing a way that like creators like you guys and ourselves, can get out there and monetize a lot easier,
yes.
And do it all in one place. Like, who the heck wants to have like a Discord and a Patreon and a Facebook group and a Twitter and whatever task manager you need to have, to run your crew. Like, it's all so much. And so we have some huge upgrades coming. But, mainly, you guys know, it's a social media platform. If you love fantasy football and you just want to hang out with a bunch of fantasy football, crazy folks, then just come chill with us. If you got questions or you don't know, we always find ourselves, especially during draft season, right? Like, should I make this trade? Should I not make this trade?
Yep.
Is this enough for this pick? Does this vet player make a difference, where I shouldn't go on the rookie risk? And there's tons of that stuff happening in there where people can ask questions, hop on and you get good people answering,
It's kind of like a straw poll to me for a lot of the time when I can use it to collect a little bit of data. And like I said, on Sunday, I went out there wheeling, dealing in my Dynasty leagues, and it would have been nice if I had an extra hand to pull up the Advice Network, ask some people what's going on. So definitely use it. It's a great resource. It's free to join right now as well. You can later upgrade your account, but make sure you guys are getting in there at the Fantasy Football Advice Network, fantasyfootballadvice.com, or you can find their app on whatever app store you use. All right, guys, let's start with the question of the night. Who are you most excited about after the NFL draft? Tyler, you asked this on your platform, man. So this can be a rookie, this can be a vet that we are taking in underdog drafts that we're more excited to draft now. Basically, our biggest risers, our biggest winners from the NFL draft. Tyler, I'm coming right to you, man. Who are your biggest winners?
So I'm going to start with a veteran winner that we highlighted about 2 weeks pre-draft.
Sure.
Obviously we talked about some rookie wins, some vet wins. And, I'm sitting there and I'm watching the draft just like everybody else in the world. And we're just ticking away and round after round happens. And we're still waiting on the Dallas Cowboys to take a running back. Like it's good. They got to take a running back, right? And we're just waiting and waiting and waiting. And like, as soon as we got to like day 3 and they hadn't taken, anybody yet, I'm like, it's Zeke season again. It's coming. Zeke's gonna eat again in 2024, and so I was excited about that, especially a couple days right after they signed him to a contract. They gave him the 1-year deal.
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody there that's really gonna compete with them, for that spot. And some people may, we've got the people out there saying, "Oh, it's Dowdle season," and all this stuff.
Baby.
It's Zeke, you know what I mean? Who proved last year, and has proven any year when he can get 70 receptions, he's going to be a gold mine for fantasy. And he did that in New England after Ramondre went down. And, I was excited about it. For me, maybe I'm biased because I held on to a lot of Zeke shares through all the turmoil, and to have that value come back, I'm like, yes. Some players you just got to ride to the end. You know what I mean? They die, you just got to keep with them because you're not going to get the value you want for in a trade, but even if you were like right now, like if you were going to trade him away, you would probably have no higher value through the rest of his career than current.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind the Zeke call. It's like, it kind of reminds me of that Obi-Wan Kenobi meme. Like, that's a name I haven't heard in a very, very long time. Like, dude, like it is crazy how it's full circle. And Hoov, that was something I did not have on my NFL draft bucket list. Was the Cowboys not to select a running back? I just didn't have it. I thought somewhere, somehow, even in the 6th or 7th round, they could add someone. And no, it's Zeke time.
I just don't get it because like that was the last bet I had. That was the last bet I had out there was Blake Corum to the Cowboys, which is basically the same thing except a younger Zeke. And you want someone that's just gonna pound the rock. Get Blake Corum because at least you have youth and you're doing it. Like, I get it, it's a fun thing to bring Zeke back, but that's not going to take you past the Niners, and that's not going to take you past the Packers. It's not going to take you past the Lions. Like, I don't get it, but
yeah, for
fantasy Jones is all in. So
yeah,
I'm just laughing because this is what everybody experienced. Like every Cowboys fan is watching the draft and they're just like, next, all right, are we gonna take Benson? Are we gonna take him right now? Or
nope.
And it just never happened.
I lost so much money. I could have at least made like half of it back. Blake Corum, if Blake Corum would have went to the Cowboys.
Let me throw out my veteran winner here. It's Patrick Mahomes. I've been taking my shot on Patrick Mahomes in the late 4th, early 5th round of best balls pretty much all summer long or all off season long. And now he has a legitimate shot with Xavier Worthy in the fold now to be a quarterback one in my rankings, be the quarterback one in my rankings heading into September. I think right now with Hollywood Brown, with Rashee Rice, if his suspension isn't too crazy, Travis Kelce's back in the fold with a new 2-year deal, making him the highest paid tight end. Vibes are high right now in Kansas City, despite not getting the new stadium. I think all things right now, if you've been drafting Patrick Mahomes this offseason at QB4, QB5, wherever he's been going, pat yourself on the back. Like it's time to ride, man. And I think I'll be taking some shots at Mahomes come August if the ADP doesn't get too crazy. Hoover, are you back on Mahomes as well? And who are your thoughts for a veteran riser?
I can get down with Mahomes, like, because he's just QB1 in my opinion, especially with like, you don't really know if you're looking for more upside. You can always go for like Lamar with all the weapons that he has now. But Patrick Mahomes, before, like, that's such a great discount. If you can get that, definitely do it. My vet that I'm actually kind of back in on, I never was a big fan, but just based off of the draft alone, I think that they saw enough out of J.K. Dobbins to not invest in a running back. So I think I'm back in on J.K. Dobbins. No. I think that there's a reason J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, I think that they're showing Jim Harbaugh because we know the offense is going to be pound the rock. Like Jim Harbaugh, I looked at it, Michael Crabtree only finished top 20. He finished wide receiver 15 the year that they went to the Super Bowl, but he never like had a top 2020 wide receiver season. So is Lad McConkey and like Brendan Rice gonna like convert this into a passing offense? I don't think so. I think it's still gonna be pound the rock, Greg Roman, Jim Harbaugh, and J.K. Dobbins could be a very, very exciting sleeper this year. So J.K. Dobbins is my answer. That's my bet. Get back on, baby. Get back on. Let's do it. Let's do it. Tyler, don't laugh at me. I know, right? I know this is it. This is the year. This is the year.
So I'm not laughing at you, Hoov. I promise I'm not, because
I am.
Secretly, look, inside. So J.K. Dobbins is another one of those. Like, I have held J.K. Dobbins, and I mean, when he came in, like every time he touches the football, his yards per carry average is astronomical. Like, he is definitely a good running back. The health is obviously always the concern, and so like there's just every time he gets hurt, you can't get enough value for him to let him go in a trade, right? And so you just keep hanging him there, and you keep throwing him on IR, and then he shows up at the beginning of the next season. You're like, maybe this is the year. Right? And so I don't know that I'm fully in belief, but I pray, I hope, I mean, please be right, because if you're right, I will win more championships. I will collect more of these beautiful trophies over here next to me, and it will be another great season for Tyler.
Yeah, I think it's Gus Edwards. Like, I think he's the biggest winner. I think Gus Edwards is the lead back on this team. Looking at the money they gave him guaranteed, I think you could say they're both winners. I was especially expecting the Chargers to add a running back potentially in those first 3 rounds. You know, I was with you, Hoov. I was sitting at the bar in Delaware, Dewey Beach, having a good old time, drinking a Michelob Ultra Draft, eating some pizza, and posted up. And I was like, hey, right before round 3, I was like, round 2, I was like, I'm gonna get a little sweat going here. Went Blake Corum to the Cowboys, took a little sprinkle on him to the Chargers as well. And I was thinking he's got to land one of these places. He didn't. So now it kind of creates an opportunity here in Los Angeles. So excited to see what can happen out there. Hoov, you went with J.K. Dobbins as your veteran. Tyler, you went with Zeke. So a couple old ass running back bums you guys have faith in. And also in my Dynasty league, JK just got flipped for a late third, and I was floored. I could not believe that he had that much value to some people still. So I will say, if you can sell JK now, Tyler, because you're holding on to him, fucking flip him now. If you can get a 3rd round pick for him, a 4th round, like, do what you can. I think
it's so hard. Like, is a 3rd or 4th round worth it with the potential upside?
You could get Ray Davis with that. I'll talk about Ray Davis more later, but he's a late 3rd.
I'm talking like a 2025 3rd. Like, if you got a 2025 3rd, take a shot. Take a shot.
I take a 2025 3rd for sure. All right, Tyler, who's a rookie to you that increased a lot of value in the draft?
So I will say this. I would say through slowly throughout the draft process, I saw a guy who was probably projected to be more of a 2nd to 3rd round guy slowly make his climb, right? That person being JJ McCarthy. And then, we hit the draft, right? Or even before that, he's making a climb, but still, I mean, he doesn't even get an invite to day 1, right? So, like, obviously they're not thinking that he's going to be there or he's going to get taken around. And then he goes to the Vikings, which I was pumped about, because if you think rookie quarterbacks, like, you look at Drake Maye, right? He lands in New England with what? With what weapons? Right. Like they Hunter Henry, a slew of maybe wide receivers, and that's it. Like, it's not great. But then JJ McCarthy goes and he gets Jordan Addison, he gets JJ, he gets Hawk, and so I was like, maybe, like, where I didn't have JJ McCarthy as high, like I didn't have him in top 2 or top 3, on the talent side. I think when you go to the draft landing spot, Like I just did a rookie draft and he went 2 overall.
Holy fuck.
You know?
Holy.
And I don't know if I'm that high on him. I don't know if I'm taking him over Jayden Daniels.
Yeah.
But I mean, to think of somebody that was projected outside of round 1, projected outside, you know, not even to go where he went in the draft to a great situation with a great offensive minded head coach. Like, I mean, is JJ McCarthy capable of what Kirk Cousins did? I mean, it's at least interesting enough.
Yeah.
Was Kirk Cousins a viable fantasy quarterback?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the point is 100% valid, man. Like JJ is somebody who a month ago, Hoov said that he would take JJ at the 107 and he got buried in our YouTube comments. Lost a couple subscribers. To be honest, they were not happy with Hoov. Hoov, you stood pat and like, I always knew he was going to the Vikings. That was kind of like who I really thought he was going to end up with. I thought they were going to have to trade up to 4 to get him. They were able to hang on, end up trading up, you know, kind of making a sacrificial lamb pick and trading up to get him at number 12 or 11, excuse me. But overall, I think JJ McCarthy is a huge winner. Landing in that Kevin O'Connell system. Hoov, I'll let you take a quick victory lap. We'll touch on him in a little bit. We don't need a huge victory lap, but I'll tell you, in my tiers, I have him in the same tier as Jayden Daniels and Drake Maye, and I don't think that's crazy to do. And I had him there before.
He's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow. JJ to JJ can't be denied. Let's go, baby. I told you. December 26th, day after Christmas, St. Nicholas, your boy Hoov came knocking on everyone's doors and said, hey, there's going to be someone that's going to creep his way into the top 4 talk. And that's JJ McCarthy. And he didn't end up fully jumping Drake Maye on the quarterback rankings, but he definitely, in my opinion, he's still more fantasy valuable. And a buddy of mine, he actually just reached out. He likes to reach out. I know he likes to make some trades and kind of turn his team around. So he likes to pick my ear on for rookies. And so I told him, I was like, I feel like there's a few players. He got Jonathon Brooks. He got JJ McCarthy, and he picked JJ McCarthy over Drake Maye and Odunze. He had 3 firsts. Ooh, and I'm like, I feel like that right there, that's how you rebuild your team. You're going to have someone who you know he's going to have JJ McCarthy, and even if by the small chance, the minuscule chance that they actually trade JJ McCarthy or trade JJ Justin Jefferson, you already know that he has Jordan Addison. He's got so many things. He has Kevin O'Connell. Like, Kevin O'Connell's a good, smart coach.
For sure.
And I really do believe in what they're doing in Minnesota. And so Hawk might not be fully healthy this next year. And so he might not have the immediate impact. But that's where I still would, in redraft, take Jayden Daniels. I'd still, obviously, Caleb Williams I would take before JJ McCarthy. But for redraft, you definitely have to take JJ McCarthy over Drake Maye. I think Jalen Polk has value. I think Javon Baker has value, but not compared to the immediate impact that JJ McCarthy could have, especially when you're competing against Sam Darnold. And you know that the Vikings are going to want to compete in a very competitive NFC North. So, but my rookie that I got now is I can't talk about this one too long because it's not Thursday. I don't want to get too excited, and but AD Mitchell on the Colts. We are a big Anthony Richardson fan here at ABT. Okay, the whole channel, we are big Anthony Richardson people. So the fact that you got the cannon of Anthony Richardson and the deep threat catchability out of AD Mitchell, come on, baby. The brain of Shane Steichen. Another thing, I'm very excited about AD Mitchell. But I think about if I would rather have AD Mitchell or Ladd McConkey, I think I'm taking AD Mitchell.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll discuss it. I think I'm a little bit lower on him just because he did slide a little bit than I think further than we thought. But You're right. It could be a perfect fit with Shane Steichen. You absolutely could be right. I'll quickly just brush on Caleb Williams. To me, was my biggest rookie riser. And I know it's kind of hard to say, like, how does the guy go from, really rising that much? More redraft focus. Like, I think he has legitimate shot to be in that, like, QB1 upside discussion for me this year. Now that he has Odunze as that wide receiver 3, like, that just boosts him so much. And last year, they had Darnell Wright in the draft. Caleb Williams is just going up if that offensive line can hold up. We'll touch on it more, though. But guys, let's go ahead and do that. Let's pull up my rankings here. Let's get into some Rave rookie reviews. All right, we have my top 36 rookie rankings and tiers pulled up here, guys. And I'm going to start with the elites. We just kind of touched on Caleb Williams. To me, he's number 2 overall in my dynasty rankings now for this class. I like him a lot more after what Big Polls has done here, adding an elite group of wide receivers, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Odunze. They have Darnell Wright, kind of rebuilding that offensive line. My only concern is the coaching. Can Matt Eberflus stick? I'm excited to see that. And then Marvin Harrison Jr. to me, he is still my Dynasty 101, even in super flex formats. I think he's the most can't miss prospect in this class. Kyler Murray is, say what you want about him, say what you want about his work ethic. Kyler Murray is a top 12 talent at quarterback in the league. Marvin Harrison Jr., in my opinion, is really the only guy in town in that wide receiver room. They still do have some upside with Trey McBride, James Conner, Trey Benson now in the backfield as well. But I think Marvin Harrison Jr. instantly comes in and pushes for double-digit targets per game, can have a wide receiver 1 season right away here in 2024. Tyler, any digression from you here on my rankings?
No, I like it. And I think, I actually am really a proponent of Malik Nabers. But I will say, the quarterback differentiation between Kyler and Daniel Jones is enough to separate them. Where I'm putting Harrison Jr. up there at the top. Kyler's shown he can get the football out there, so I'm good with it.
Yeah, that was my only differential here, and it, like I said, in my Dynasty League earlier, I was drafting from the 103 position, and I ended up trading back. Someone really wanted Nabers. I ended up being able to go back to the 105. I also traded back 2 picks in the second round, and I was able to get JSN as, like, basically like my consolation prize of, like, hey, you move back 2 picks in 2 rounds in a row, you get JSN. I thought it was highway robbery. I took it and ran with it, and I do like Malik Nabers, and I do think he can push for probably 7 to 8 targets per game as a rookie. He's going to have a high target share. We know that with Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton kind of being those auxiliary options there in New York. However, we don't know if Daniel Jones will be healthy to start the season. If not, it's Drew Lock, Hoov. So I think with that being said, Malik Nabers kind of cracks open my tier 2, which I'm labeling the stud. Still great. I still want him. I would still love to have him, but he's not in that totally elite, can't miss prospect here that I feel like Marvin and Caleb have now put themselves from a dynasty perspective.
I'll challenge you on that. Actually, I'll put him up there in my opinion, because, like, if we're really going to say that Malik Nabers is the second coming of Jamar Chase, then were you the person that, even when Jake Browning was the starting quarterback, were you getting Jamar Chase? Yes, you were. And Daniel Jones is head and shoulders, as much as you want to hate on Daniel Jones, people want to hate on Daniel Jones, not necessarily you, but, like, he is still a better quarterback than Jake Browning was. And so I think like I was just on another show and they were talking about is like the way that Jalen Hyatt is gonna spread. He's gonna just be like route guy, just running back, cardio king, running back and forth, and he's gonna be opening up the field where Malik Nabers is gonna be able to get that yak. So like Malik Nabers is gonna be fine. Malik Nabers, if you really believe that the talent is there with him, he should be in the same tier as Marvin Harrison Jr., in my opinion. It doesn't matter the quarterback because the quarterback situation will get fixed. And he is a talent that transcends a quarterback, in my opinion. Okay. So I would move him up. And honestly, I'd challenge you on Odunze, but I really want to see this whole head coach, offensive coordinator situation unfold before I can really say it. But he really should be there too. And then before you move on to 3, I think Jayden Daniels deserves to be in your studs as well.
Okay.
Sure.
So let me ask you this real quick, just so that I can grasp where we're at. As far as your rookie tiers, are we talking dynasty, long term?
Strictly dynasty.
Okay, strictly dynasty. Okay.
Yep.
That changes some things, like I mean, even like what you're not. I'll wait till you get to tier 2. But when I was thinking like redraft or like next season, like I don't have Odunze. Like he was one of the fallers based on draft spot.
Absolutely.
For me.
Absolutely. In redraft. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that gives me a little bit better context. Like, but I do think Malik Nabers is a killer talent for long term. And he's coming in the league. Was he 20 years old? So, I mean, he's young.
Yes. Yeah. And in that B tier, as you guys are kind of alluding to, is Rome Odunze. I have him with Malik Nabers right there. And like why I really like Rome Odunze, and we've kind of gone through the prospect profile already at this point on the channel, so I don't need to dive into the numbers fully, but coming in with Caleb, he's going to be getting reps with him. He already has been pre-draft, and he has top 10 NFL draft capital now as well. And I know Keenan Allen's there. I know DJ Moore's there, Tyler, but Keenan Allen's going to be a free agent after this season in 2025. DJ Moore will be the following year in 2026. I would have to guess they're not able to keep this trio together super long term. Maybe they are, and maybe Rome is always maybe subjected to 5, 6, 7 targets a game. But with top 10 draft capital, man, I really like Rome. So I would be comfortable taking him at the 104 overall. I was hoping to get him at 105 in a couple leagues, and he's been going at 104 in some leagues. So, all right, let's go ahead. Let's get to my 3rd tier, and this is where I have these quarterbacks grouped together, guys. Listen, I think they all have a ton of upside. They're high risk, huge reward quarterbacks for me. I do have JJ McCarthy, 5 overall in my rankings. Just because of what we talked about earlier. I love the situation for him. I feel like he has the highest floor out of these guys. Maybe not quite the ceiling that Jayden Daniels has. And then Hoov, you kind of challenged me on Jayden Daniels. Why is he not in that top tier, that second tier at least? And for me, I think he's a guy who could rush for 800 to 1,000 yards as a rookie. I love the team they're kind of building around him. They went out and got Jerzon Newton in the 2nd round out of Illinois. McCaffrey's going to be a solid slot receiver for him. Ben Sinnott, they got a young budding tight end in there as well with Zach Ertz. So I like what they're doing, but it's just the frame for me, man. He's a smaller quarterback. We've seen quarterbacks take a lot of hits. So, Tyler, any thoughts from you on where you would put Jayden Daniels in your rankings? Would you have him in that studs? Would you dare to call him elite, or do you think I have him kind of in that 3rd tier there? Do you think that's okay?
I think so. All 3 of those quarterbacks, I think it's a good tier. I feel like they all enter with, like that slight, like maybe attached to him, right? Like they may be a franchise quarterback. Like I don't think anybody there you're going like, oh, this is the next 15-year quarterback for their team. Like there's still a little bit of that testing, and see how they do. I mean, even Jayden Daniels, and I will say, following Jayden Daniels through college, like he always tended to surprise you, Every time he would transfer to a new place, he surprised you a little bit in the performance level. I won't forget, Arkansas was playing against his team and they're up big, and then they switched to Jayden Daniels like at halftime, and then all of a sudden like points are going on the board.
Yeah.
As a Razorbacks fan, I hated it. I hated playing him. So I think he's a higher prospect than the other two for me because I've seen a lot of him playing.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think in that realm, he's a maybe. And I don't know, the coaching piece is always a question mark across the board with like quarterback development. And, that's the other part with those three outside of JJ.
And I think like Hoov, yeah, go ahead.
My only thing that I have to add with Jayden is that, yes, I understand, like, he might not have the mobility right away with how bad the offensive line is, but he, to me, is like his recent comp was CJ Stroud with mobility. And the fact that CJ Stroud, like, he became so valuable his rookie year with what he did just by reading the field and breaking things down and opening things for his receivers. I mean, you got Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, and now Luke McCaffrey. And he's going to be opening up Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson. Like, the offensive line might not be great, so he might not be able to use his full skill set rookie year. But that's where people are going to also be like, okay, well, he's also got legs. So, like, once they start building this offensive line next year, when the class isn't as wide receiver heavy and like quarterback heavy and stuff, and they could focus on the offensive line and build that, I think Jayden Daniels is going to be viewed the same way as CJ Stroud, like in dynasty value. So
I will throw this hot take out there for you IBTers that love Anthony Richardson. I think Jayden Daniels is better than Anthony Richardson.
No.
Here's the thing. Every team that Jayden Daniels has went to has increased in productivity. They've gotten better. Anthony Richardson couldn't get Florida to a winning season. I think Jayden Daniels is a better quarterback.
Yeah, I see. I think that's a totally reasonable. It's a totally reasonable take. I feel like I've seen it with Anthony Richardson, and it's just if he can stay healthy. And I have the same concerns about Jayden Daniels, especially after having a lot of Richardson. Regardless, my take on these quarterbacks and Drake Maye, like, I love the intangibles of this guy. Footwork needs a little bit of work, as does his team. But overall, they did get better. They added 2 linemen, one in the 3rd round, one in the 4th round. They also added Jalen Polk as well. So I think there's a potential for a lot of upside here. All right. Give me 1 sec. Sorry about that. Bring Hoov back in here. I think we just had another show leave, and it's kind of changing some things up here. Hoov, your thoughts on the Patriots? You think they got a little bit better? Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, and Jaheim Bell adding those receivers?
I'm definitely going to be drafting both of those guys at ADP. If I can try to like gain 2/3 and get those guys, I'm definitely going to be doing it. Just because I was big on those guys. I talked about both of them throughout our pre-draft rankings and stuff like that. So I think that there's going to be times that they're both valuable. I don't know if I want to like say like a Nico Collins, Tank Dell situation, because I just don't think that they're going to be that fantasy valuable off the bat.
Sure.
But they're definitely going to be beating the other guys in that wide receiver room right now. So
yeah,
you could be getting a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 at a good cost.
Yeah. And like the only reason I have these quarterbacks ranked lower than the wide receivers, guys, is because I firmly believe that when you look at what we've seen in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, there's not a lot of these quarterbacks still with their original teams. It just happened. We've seen more busts than hits as of late. And I think you at least have to say probably 2 of these top 4 are going to be a bust. We don't know who yet. And so you see how I have them ranked. That's kind of my thought process on them. They still have value in dynasty leagues, but there is risk to them. Tier number 4 for me is the Yup tier. If you guys remember the show Storage Wars, that when the guys would be bidding on the storage units. Yup. This is like the don't outsmart the room tier. Like I was absolutely stunned that Brock Bowers did not go to the Jets, that he ends up falling to the Raiders. Didn't make a lot of sense for me for the Raiders. Didn't love the pick. Still, Gardner Minshew knows how to use his best players, whether that's Michael Pittman Jr. and his running backs in Indy a year ago, or DJ Chark back in Jacksonville. And then Brian Thomas Jr. Brian Thomas Jr. is falling in dynasty drafts. I've been getting him with the 111, 112 right now. I'm on the clock, and I think I'm probably going to be taking him as well. Going to Jacksonville, I'm really happy about this. I kind of thought this was the ideal fit for Brian Thomas Jr. Different player than what they have right now, guys. They have Christian Kirk, the slot guy, Gabe Davis, kind of the great blocker and also the home run hitter. But Brian Thomas Jr. is kind of going to be that field stretcher to get those intermediate routes, rack up some yak as well. And just a big son of a bitch, man. Caught 17 touchdowns last year, something Calvin Ridley struggled to do, get down in the red zone. So I'm excited for him as well. Obviously, some risks, 1 year of production. And then rounding out this Yup tier here, Xavier Worthy. Listen, I know these speed guys haven't usually worked in the past, Tyler, but Xavier Worthy with the Chiefs, a guy who could take the top off. We've seen this in a past life. I'm not calling him Tyreek Hill, but he's going to play that role. Obviously, we've seen McCole Hardman in this offense that he never came to fruition like we thought he could. But Xavier Worthy, fastest 40 time at combine history, now in the hands of Andy Reid.
I mean, I'm good with all these in the Yup tier. I think that to me, I think that I would put, and I may get, I don't know, land blasted for this, but I don't know if Brian Thomas is as high as the other two for me.
Okay.
Because I think the other two landed in situations where you'd go, who is the number one? And they could be the number one. And both have elite quarterbacks, you know. And so while Brian Thomas, like, he has a good quarterback, I like, you know, well, you could put him and Herbert in the, you could put T-Law and Herbert close, but Herbert's still getting drafted ahead. But, you know, like, you could say, okay, Kirk's still going to get a lot of touches. Evan Ingram's still going to get a lot of touches. You know, Gabe Davis, we'll see how he is. He going to be the deep ball guy, you know? So, like, you don't really know. It's not a clear picture. Whereas the other two, you're going, okay, this could be wide receiver one. Who's going to challenge Worthy and KC? This could be wide receiver one. Who is Josh Palmer going to be better than McConkey? Is Quentin Johnson body catching self going to be better than McConkey? I don't know.
Oh, so you like McConkey? You like McConkey for maybe the Yup tier as well. I have.
Oh, and Bauer. Oh, sorry. I saw the Georgia uniform.
No,
I can't really see. But the if even if Bowers is there, I still don't think I have Bowers there based on. I mean, I don't know. That's a tough. I did not expect, and I don't think anybody in their right mind expected the Raiders to take Bowers. I mean, Mayer is a complete tight end. He can block. He can catch the football, you know, and he really started to come on towards the end of last year. And so, you know, like I was sitting there, I was dumbfounded. I was like, why are you wasting your pick here when you have so many more needs? And I wouldn't call Bowers a wasted pick, right? He's an elite level talent at the position. But I didn't understand why that was the number one position to, you know, focus on in the draft. That was crazy to me.
Yeah, no, I that was probably the most shocking pick, Hoov. Your thoughts on the Yup tier, and would you make the argument that Ladd should be in this Yup tier as well?
I would not put Ladd in this tier. I think I would put Jonathon Brooks in this tier.
Wow.
We can move that for a second.
Sure.
With Brian Thomas Jr., I wanted to make this point, is that you're seeing these wide receiver rooms do like copy paste is like Kansas City. They're going for speed wide receivers. They're almost going for the Miami Dolphins formula. You got Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, and then you got Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown. But even then, Rashee Rice, like once he comes back, if like whatever his suspension is, if it's this year or next year, whenever it will be, if he serve one, he's still like the wide receiver that plays the most Patrick Mahomes style football. So I don't even know if I would put Xavier Worthy yep tier, like arguably first. Like he's definitely gonna be a late first, but you're not gonna be taking Xavier Worthy over like one of the 7 up there. Like he's definitely a late first. So Brock Bowers in this offense, like right now, you don't know the quarterback for the future. You got Devontae Adams still there. I'm not going to overthink it and not pick Brock Bowers from here. But with Brian Thomas, the same thing I was saying with Xavier Worthy and like the style of offense is pretty much the Jaguars are pretty much doing like a poor man's Seattle, and like pretty much like Seattle plus is the Bears, so Seattle minus would be, you got Gabe Davis is DK Metcalf minus light, Tyler Lockett or Christian Kirk is Tyler Lockett light, and then now you have Brian Thomas Jr. being JSN light. So like Brian Thomas definitely has a pathway to be the wide receiver 1 with Trevor Lawrence. So I wouldn't pass on Brian Thomas Jr. for Xavier Worthy quite yet. That's just
there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who are. We got to speed things up a little bit for timing. So I'm gonna I have a huge fucking next tier. This is the arguable first rounders. These are the guys who, hey, if you took them in your dynasty rookie draft at the end of the first round, I'm not gonna say you reached. I don't know if I would quite do with some of these guys. But let's see. Lad McConkey, he's first overall here in this tier. For me, we touched on him, just a shifty as fuck wide receiver. We've liked him. We've talked him up since Mobile here. Jim Harbaugh got a close look at him a few times playing against Georgia. And Tyler, as you kind of allude to, best wide receiver, I think, on this team, arguably. Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnson, he'll be joining there. Staying in this tier, as Hoov alluded to, Jonathon Brooks. I love to see that the Panthers went up and got him. They traded a couple other picks, some day 3 picks to go up and get Jonathon Brooks. It tells me they really, really want him. And this was kind of a surprising landing spot, because I think a lot of us thought, hey, maybe he could go to the Cowboys. There were a couple other running back needy teams as well. Ends up falling here to the Panthers. And Chuba Hubbard, while a pretty good player, had about 238 carries last season, over 280 total touches. He still averaged less than 4 yards per carry. He's not a great player. He's going to be a free agent in a year from now. And this tells me that, hey, they want to build around Jonathon Brooks and get Bryce Young some help here. So I like that pick a lot. I also like Trey Benson. Trey Benson goes down to Arizona. You can tell they want to build a little bit of a youthful core from their skill players, guys. And James Conner's a free agent in a year. So, Tyler, any thoughts on the 2 running backs here, arguably the RB1 and the RB2 of the 2024 class? We found them. They're here. They're these guys. We've talked about different players who could be them. It seems like it very certainly is Brooks and Benson.
I like them a lot, actually. I think both of them. Now, in Dynasty, I'm not drafting them. I'm not drafting them from an immediate impact. Like, I'm not thinking here in 2024 they're gonna top 10 running back, type situation. But I am taking, obviously Connor's getting older. In Carolina, they've got both Hubbard and Miles Sanders are they're on their way out, right? So like, and with Brooks coming off his injury, like it gives them time. Like I don't think that they're going to rush him into play.
Agreed.
Agreed. And same thing with Connor. I don't think they're going to rush Benson into play. But like you said, I do think they're trying to get their RB1, going in. And the cool thing, this draft, nobody was going, oh, this is RB1. Like it was a bunch of guys that we found to be kind of in this mid-range tier of running back talent. And so, the teams that took the higher level guys were teams that said, okay, we have running backs in place that we can test this out. We can see if they have the talent. And if not, we can always draft somebody else next year. They're not in a situation where they're forced. We got to start this guy day one in order to be competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. Hoov, I'll get your thoughts on this entire tier, but I do want to introduce the rest of it. Bo Nix going to the Denver Broncos, kind of a surprising pick for me. I think I should have seen the tea leaves. I thought maybe they'd trade back, but to take him at 13 overall, apparently he was the guy overall that Sean Payton just fell in love with. He went on Pat McAfee soon after this pick and talked for about 45 fucking minutes about how much he loves Bo Nix. So I think he fits the Sean Payton scheme when you look at a guy who he just wants to sit back in the pocket, make on-time reads, and rack up some yards after the catch. Ricky Pearsall, he ends up boosting himself in the first round. I don't think a lot of us had him as a first round prospect on our boards. I know I had him more of a day 2 guy, but comes in here. Brandon Ayuk still staying in San Francisco, so a little bit of a cloudy wide receiver room for now. But San Francisco, I kind of trust them when it comes to skill players. They seem to know what they're doing. So I think Ricky's in a really good situation. Michael Penix Jr., I had a really hard time ranking him in Bo Nix because I like Penix way better as a prospect, but I mean, he's going to be arguably 27 before we see him in action, unless there's a Kirk Cousins injury. Shocking pick by the Atlanta Falcons. And then Keon Coleman, a player I was not high on at all, and he lands in a great spot in Buffalo. Who've sort through this arguable first round tier. Who would you take in the first round of these guys?
I would break this tier into another tier and then have early seconds. Because there's only 2 guys I think I would take here. I think I would take Jonathon Brooks and Keon Coleman right here, really. If it was like 12 team, because you got the 4 and the got 7, 10.
Yeah, 12.
Yeah, so there's only 2 right here that I would really consider like arguable first rounders, which would be Keon and Brooks, either or. But the next tier, like, I know, Tyler, you really like McConkey, but just like looking at the stats, like Michael Crabtree, like I was alluding to earlier, only finished 15th once. And we know that the offense is going to be run heavy. So I don't like, that Ladd McConkey is good at creating space. How much of it is going to be a passing offense? Like, if he's going to create that space, obviously Herbert's going to make that play. But how many times is that going to be designed to do that in Harbaugh's offense, in Roman's offense? Like, I just don't see it. He has upside, but at the end of this tier. So, like, are you going to take him over a starting quarterback in Bo Nix? No, I'm not. I'll take Bo Nix there. Even if he's not good, you have to. There's still that value of like a Will Levis. If he could be a Will Levis, like right now, Will Levis, you should be getting a first round pick for Will Levis in most dynasty leagues. So if Bo Nix can at least be that, I'm here for it. Michael Penix, you don't know what, but he's still going to be a starting quarterback at some point. I got him there. And then Trey Benson. Like, I think Ricky Pearsall is the only person I would take after Ladd McConkey in this, truthfully, even as a 49ers fan. Like, there's just too many mouths to feed for me to justify that for Ladd McConkey. So, end of it is McConkey, Pearsall. For Benson, I feel like it's going to be more like thunder and lightning. You're seeing the way that the running back rooms go in the NFL. It's like David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. They're not to that point, but James Conner's going to be your goal line guy, and you know that Benson's going to be explosive because they're trying to keep Conner as healthy as possible. This is in history. So I like the value. I think that there's Brooks, RB1 for sure, Benson close 2, and then
everybody else. Yeah.
Guys,
Yep. We'll talk about him here. Let's get to my, I guess we're already down to my 6th tier overall here. The mid to late second round picks. Xavier Legette goes off the board in the first round. The Carolina Panthers trade up to get their guy. And then Roman Wilson falls to the Steelers. This is just a pick in trusting the Steelers organization when it comes to wide receivers, and they don't have a lot in that room. Outside of him, they have Van Jefferson, They have a guy I shit on last week on our good friend of the program, Chuck Bass's program. Jesus Christ. Guy from Memphis. Help me out here. You know him, Tyler. Calvin Austin III. Sorry. Calvin Austin III. They have George Pickens. Like, there's just not a lot right there right now outside of Pickens. And I think Roman Wilson comes in, he plays that flanker role immediately, steps into a big role there in Pittsburgh. Him and Corley, Malachi Corley, I've been talking about him all off season long. The Jets trade up for him early 3rd round. And this is the Yak King, and I think he's a great counterbalance to Garrett Wilson. I think he'll play the flanker role there, probably work out of the slot some as well, maybe about a 50% slot share, and also playing that flanker role. But I think Corley, Roman Wilson, Legette all have a lot of upside to me. I think Legette has the most downside to me just because no offense, Tyler, again, but he reminds me of Treylon Burks too much. So like I don't love the profile, but he's going to eat there opposite of Deontay Johnson. Rounding out here, my tier number 6 is Blake Corum. Don't love the fit with the Rams, to be honest with you guys. Really, really liked what we saw last season out of some of their young players, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua. I just don't know where Blake Corum fits. Maybe they want to do something like you said, Hoov, and kind of run that Thunder Lightning scheme, and maybe he is the more Jahmyr Gibbs to Kyron Williams, David Montgomery. So perhaps that's a possibility. And then I have A.D. Mitchell here as well. And listen, I thought A.D. Mitchell was going to be a first-round pick, but there were concerns about his production prior to getting to Texas, and I think NFL teams caught on to that a little bit. Ends up sliding down in the 2nd round, and this is just me preferring a Pittsburgh wide receiver, trusting that process a little bit more, and trusting Malachi Corley's talent, and then the day 1 capital for Legette over Mitchell. But I think they're all great prospects. But Hoov, I'm sure you're going to argue against me that I'm out of my mind for having A.D. Mitchell this low.
I definitely am. I think that I would move. I'd swap AD up for Pearsall. I would. Corley might not be good right away, but by year 2, like he'll be taken over from Mike Williams real fast. Especially like just knowing how much the Jets organization wanted him, that he's going to be heavily involved. Legette, I'm with you on. I don't know like if he's the right answer for them. I mean their new head coach is pretty good at designing plays. Obviously, he made Baker Mayfield look a lot better than he did. So if anyone could, I could see it being him. But AD has to be boosted up, in my opinion, at least over Pearsall. Just because, like we were talking about earlier, Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson's arm talent. But other than that, Blake Corum, to me, this feels like the Zach Charbonnet pick. Like we've seen, I get it. He does. Yep. Kyron Williams doesn't have a lot of draft capital, but neither did Isaiah Pacheco. And you saw that when you show what you can do on the field, you earn your spot. To be the man, you got to beat the man. And like Blake Corum, as much as I think he is an awesome running back and he was a great asset for Michigan, like Kyron Williams is like a Kenneth Walker style player. Like he's very talented. I think he proved it. It kind of reminds me of like Rachaad White, like where people are just like, oh, he just hasn't he hasn't proved it to them. And I think that this is the year that Kyron Williams, I wouldn't doubt him. If you really wanted a share of Blake Corum, it's not a worst case scenario, just knowing how Sean McVay is, and he could design something better like the Seahawks did for Zach Charbonnet. Maybe that was it. Maybe all the injuries for the offensive line was why Zach Charbonnet wasn't as involved. But if Sean McVay is going to do it, I think like Blake Corum could be a weapon, but he's not taking Kyron Williams' spot by any means. So, in my opinion, but I think that's appropriate for his tier.
Tyler, any conjecture from you on the mid-late twos tier?
No, I mean I was surprised during the draft that Mitchell fell as far as he did. Like
Agreed.
I was sitting here every time like they would come back around and I'd be like, oh my God, somebody like this team's gonna take him, this
Yeah.
team's gonna take him, and he just kept falling. And I was like, holy crap, like he's a talented dude. He's not slow. He's still, 4.38
Blazing.
at the combine. Like,
Yep.
he's a talented guy. And so I think that he plants along like a larger role, but like we talked about before, and we don't need to get back on the A-Rich train. I'm just not there yet. I'm not a believer.
Mhm.
I believe in Steichen. I believe, that I just don't know. I'm not bought in on A-Rich.
Okay.
So.
All right. All right, let's go ahead. Let's tier 7 here. Upside top 26ers. Jalen Polk goes to the Patriots in round 2. Troy Franklin falls all the way out of day 2, ends up with the Denver Broncos. Ben Sinnott, tight end 2 in this class. He's the only tight end in this draft class to have day 2 capital. That's really why I have Sinnott here. I think he can be a good safety valve for Jayden Daniels, who's coming in, going to play right away. And then Jermaine Burton, who you mentioned Jermaine Burton a long time ago on this podcast as a rookie to potentially watch during the Bulls season. Hey, got himself up into day 3 or day 2, excuse me. I don't think a lot of us had him going ahead of Troy Franklin in the draft, but finds a home in Cincinnati there with the T. Higgin question marks. A lot of upside in this tier. Really they're all players in situations where they could become the number 2, or in the case of Polk, the number 1 receiving option on their team. If a couple trades were to happen, if some other things were to happen, like if Cortland Sutton were to get moved out of Denver, Troy Franklin probably becomes the wide receiver 1, and Burton could become the wide receiver 2 if T. Higgins is to leave. So, Hoov, any conjecture from you on how I have this tier?
I would bump Troy Franklin up a tier, actually. I think that the chemistry between him and Bo Nix, that's worth at least something.
Yeah. Good point.
To move him at least back of the tier, depending on like how you feel about him and how he slid. Jermaine Burton, I'm a fan, but I think that this is the Tyler replacement. I don't think that this is the T. Higgins replacement. So even at this ADP, I don't know if I like it. I think he's definitely more of a 3rd rounder. There's some running backs that I see that you have a little lower that I think I would take a stab on before I would Jermaine Burton. So,
okay.
Other than that, Jalen Polk, I've talked about Jalen Polk on the show. I'm a fan of him. I think that he was like the 2nd best wide receiver at Washington. So I'm a fan. I think that there's gonna be times where he's good. Javon Baker's good. So around here, I would take Troy Franklin over him, but that's appropriate in my opinion.
Okay. Let's get to the day 3 running backs with Pop. This is my tier number 8. Listen, Scott put out a really great article on the website that with these day 3 running backs, we don't see a lot of running back 1 seasons. We don't see a lot of running back 2 seasons realistically out of these type of players. Draft capital does matter a lot. But I think some of these guys still have upside. Starting with my guy, Ray Davis out of Kentucky. I beat this to death all off, so you don't have to go a shit ton in on Ray Davis, I don't think. But Davis, to me, landing in Buffalo, not ideal. Not ideal. I would have loved to see him in Dallas. I thought that would be a great landing spot. Ends up here in Buffalo. And listen, they're deprived of playmakers. They are deprived of playmakers. They have Kincaid at tight end. They get Keon Coleman in the room. Aside from those guys, Khalil Shakir and James Cook, there's not a lot to go around. I think he's going to play a lot of different roles for this team. James Cook's still the running back 1. James Cook is still, to me, a borderline running back 1 in fantasy, maybe a high upside running back 2. But I love Ray Davis. I love the fit here. I think that's going to be a nice thunder and lightning combination there, Hoov, as you kind of alluded to, like a Jahmyr Gibbs, Dave Montgomery situation. I don't love the fit of some of these other players down the board more, but I do like Dylan Laube landing here in Las Vegas. I think he could be a nice pass catcher. We know Zamir White is going to be the heavy thumper early on. I think Laube is going to have a really good role there, potentially early on third down. I've been hyping him up out of New Hampshire all offseason. Good for Dylan Laube for getting drafted. And then also Vidal to the Chargers, man. I think a lot of people had a bigger running back going to the Chargers, myself included, potentially Blake Corum. Vidal's going to be the guy. If anyone can supplant Gus Edwards, if anyone can supplant Gus Edwards or J.K. Dobbins, it could be Vidal. Scott, in that article talking about draft capital for running backs, highlighted some of Vidal's advanced analytics and how he liked him. So definitely check that out on the website, inbetweenmedia.com. And then Jaylen Wright here, I have him a little bit above those guys just because had a little bit better draft capital going to Miami here, where he is going to have to fight with Achane. He is going to have to fight with Raheem Mostert. So it's going to be a couple years, Tyler. But I think Jaylen Wright, he's a talented, fast guy. Like he fits the mold of Miami. He was a sprinter in college. He was a sprinter in high school, track and field guy. So how do you rank these 4 day 3 running backs with Pop? Do you like the order that I have them in, with Ray Davis and then Vidal and Laube and coming behind them, or do you like a different way?
I'm fine with it. I think they're all like, I like the tier name buckshots. Like they're all, if it happens. Now I will say, Buffalo always tries to find their power guy, right? Like they're always looking for a power back. They brought in Latavius Murray, like they want that position. So I think he's right at number 1 in that tier as far as the running backs go. Everybody else is a pretty big maybe, and I think it's a long ways. Now I do see Jaylen Wright. I would put him up behind Ray Davis, and the reason being, I mean, one, he's fast, but any Mike McDaniel offense has always struggled to keep running backs heavy. When he was in San Francisco, injury, and you're getting people on the field that you never even knew was on the team. You know what I mean? They're signing people to play. Miami, we saw injury, and so I with his scheme, the way his running backs tend to get hurt, I think that Wright could see the field a little bit sooner. And that's kind of where I put those, like, who's going to see the field and carve out a role, or at least have like that highlight moment that gets everybody going, oh, this could be a guy, in that tier. That's what I'm looking for. And I may move that player, like, once they have that big hit. I don't know that I'm sold on any of them as a career back.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably be trying to move them in Dynasty.
Yeah, these are late 3rd round picks in your Dynasty rookie drafts. Hoov?
All right, for me, the names that's out here, Ray Davis. Obviously, I'm with you now. I think that he's definitely gonna have a role in Buffalo at some capacity. And we saw it, like our girl Rachel always write about Latavius Murray. They have a role for their running backs, so I think Ray Davis, he's gonna make a nice little fit up there in Buffalo. Jaylen Wright, I kind of with Laquan. I think that he could eat a little bit too much of Devin Shane's running into his carries, and there's a possibility that Jaylen Wright becomes the RB1 in Miami over Devin Shane. I mean, he's got the speed, he's got the size. Like, Devin Shane is good, but I don't know. I feel like Jaylen Wright's going to give him a run for his money, and there is teams like the Cowboys that could be calling for a Raheem Mostert, to be the thunder to Zeke's lightning. So there's an opportunity for Jaylen Wright to get opportunity. I think boost him up, and also Dylan Laube. I was just talking to Big Bonded at the other show, and he's a Raiders fan. With Dylan Laube, this seems more like a special teams pick. He made a good point, is that now you're seeing the kickoff, the way that the kickoffs change is like they don't know if a running back in size or like a speed with a wide receiver is going to be the best way to do it. So I think this is like they're trying to figure out with a late round pick if he could be their kick returner and that he could be that that guy. So I don't think Dylan Lavi's going to have much fantasy value in my opinion. But Marshawn Lloyd, I feel like he's worth the stab. I get it. Josh Jacobs is there up in Green Bay, but when you think about it, like Josh Jacobs could only be a 1-year rental, and they have the option to buy out after this year. So if they want to keep this core younger, I think that there is the opportunity where Marshawn Lloyd is definitely going to eat into AJ Dillon's workload, and AJ is probably not going to beat anything anymore. But is he good enough to eat into Josh Jacobs' workload? Josh Jacobs isn't going to have that pass, like those passing attempts. And Jordan Love is very big on that. So I think Lloyd could make his way onto the field a lot more than people think. So Lloyd, I would definitely boost up into the mid-late 2s, honestly. I take a shot.
Oh, that's too Tyler.
I mean, when you think about it, he's definitely worth more than a 3 when you think about it. When you think about the same thing, like you were taking a stab on Ricky Pearsall in an awesome offense, it's time to recognize the Packers are a awesome offense. And that if he's the RB2, potentially RB1 in that, same thing with Trey Benson. He should be in that tier, in my opinion.
I don't like it, Tyler. I don't think the Packers gave Josh Jacobs all that money to come and not have passing down work when he's had a shit ton of receptions. So Marshawn Lloyd, he's a buckshot to me. I think he's lower than these day 3 guys with pop. Like, yes, he has day 2 capital, which automatically gives him better odds of hitting. It's just hard, especially AJ Dillon's in that crew as well, which he's not a pass catcher, but he's a guy. Tyler, your thoughts on Lloyd?
Man, I think he's talented. I hated the landing spot. I really hated the landing spot. I think it's a while for he really sees a lot of work personally. But I mean, we saw 3 running backs get touches last year, like he could get touches, but I'm not, that's a tough one for me.
Yeah. Agreed.
Like I said, sometimes the landing spot hurts even who you may think are some of the most talented or the more talented backs in the class. I will say, can I throw a buckshot out there as like somebody that I may take into the 3rd, early 4th? And you may appreciate it, but I think that it would be worth taking a shot on Theo Johnson. I mean, Waller's like, teetering on retirement. What do you have? Like Theo had like 7 touchdowns last season with a quarterback that doesn't really target the tight end. Like, I just think that's if you're looking for like late, like 4th round in like, picks that you can like just throw out there and it may be something like you could instantly have like day 1 starter, big upside. Don't hate the quarterback, or I don't love the quarterback, but when we're talking about dynasty, somebody could have long-term value. I don't know. I would put him up there. I know you're a Penn State fan. I would put him in there.
Yeah, nearly a perfect 10 out of 10 relative athletic score as well for Theo Johnson. So he does have upside. Almost very close to making my top 36. I think I had him right around 37, 38. Rounding out the buckshots, as Tyler alluded to, we touched on Marshawn Lloyd. Jalen McMillan, he lands with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Braylon Allen, Hoov, our guy, he falls all the way to the Jets. The Jets are just hoarding fucking running backs. They go after Isaiah Davis. They have Izzy Abanikanda behind Breece Hall. It's a loaded backfield. It sucks. We are wrong. Devontae Walker it ends up in a pretty good place in Baltimore, where I think he could honestly probably overtake Rashad Bateman as the running or the wide receiver 2 there. They did, however, extend Bateman, which I was surprised to hear that. And then rounding out this tier, Jatavion Sanders. He's the tight end 3 for me in this class. Theo Johnson's very close. Jatavion's going to land down there in Carolina. A lot of the Carolina tight end projects haven't gone super well so far. Sanders fell down out of day 2 into day 3, which was a real bummer. But still has some upside here out of Texas. So I'm excited to see him. He could easily overtake the tight end 1 position there. I'm not so sure what Hayden Hurst is doing, if he's even on the team heading into this season. And then Bucky Irving is my last player here. I don't mind Bucky Irving going down to Tampa Bay. I think that's a decent fit, guys. Like Bucky Irving, was slow at the combine. Didn't love what he did from a 40 perspective. He was one of the odds-on favorites to win the combine 40-yard dash and ended up running into the 4.5s, but still very talented player from Oregon. Had 2 back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Now he's going to be backing up Rachaad White there as well. So, guys, that's going to do it for us today. We did have some other things planned, but for timing purpose, I'm just going to get out of here and let everyone get to the rest of their week here. But thanks for hanging out, everybody. We greatly appreciate the support. Tyler, tell us where we can best find you and support you and everything you have going on, man.
Yeah, go to fantasyfootballadvice.com. That is our social media network for all things fantasy football. And if you want to follow me, we have shows on our Fantasy Football Advice Network YouTube channel, and you can hit me up on Twitter at Tyler Bradley CP or at FF Advice Network. Always good for a good time.
Oh yeah, we appreciate you, man. Looks like we got Rachel popping in at the end of the program. What's up, Rachel? Hope you're having a great day. Hoov, how you feeling? I feel like you weren't loving my tears, but I appreciate all your feedback, and big swinging season coming to an end, my friend.
Rach, you should have been here earlier. I gave you a shout out about Latavius Murray or about Ray Davis, but I did not like it. There's room for improvement. That's all.
That's okay. That's okay.
There's room for improvement. That's all I'll say. I think you should be more hopeful. I think you should go to bed and you should sit on it and think about it and say, I need to wake up tomorrow and I need to be more hopeful. I need to realize that I am sleeping on Marshawn Lynch. All right. So that's what I need you to do. That's your homework for the week. Come back next week and tell me how you feel. But I should take the time. You guys know where to find me at HoopTube. But what you guys really should do is you guys should go ahead and buy your tickets to draft night out, because we are planning so much this August. And at the Brew Kettle, we got so many spots available, but not too many because we're running out. So make sure you guys buy your ticket as soon as possible. All right, that's it. That's my plug.
Yes, come hang out with us in Canton, guys. We're going to be having a couple beers, having a couple of whiskeys, live drafting throughout the evening. Tyler, I know you're going to be hanging out with us. Yes, sir. He's got the bourbon ready to go. Yeah, guys. A couple words of advice here as we approach Dynasty rookie drafts. Stay vigilant out there. And like Hoov said, have hope for these guys. I feel like I have a little bit of less hope because I didn't love some of the landing spots. I'm going to be honest. Like I need to get up. I need to, see a little bit of glass half full. So I appreciate you touching base with me on that, Hoov. But overall, guys, one thing I always try to leave you with a challenge the last couple weeks, something I like to challenge the audience with a little bit. So this week's challenge is going to be, if you chat with someone, whatever industry you're in, whatever career you're in, doesn't matter. Next time you have a good conversation with someone, follow up the next day. I think that's very important. It's something I look for as an employer. It's something I always look to do when I make a connection is follow up the next day. Tyler, I know you're the king of following up, man. We'll get off a call and you'll say, hey, that was a great call, man. And like, that just goes so far in your career and in your life in general. And I think it's something I want to encourage the IBT family to try this week. So,
yeah, you're right.
All right, guys.
Right there.
All right, guys. Well, hey, appreciate everyone being here. We will see you all next Tuesday, 9:30 Eastern time, same channel, same bad program. We appreciate y'all. Until next time, keep it in between. Thank you.